Wowza, I think we got exactly what I wanted. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Knits by Mandy. My name is Amanda, and today I'll be talking about my knitting plans for fall 2022. And I'm very excited because this is kind of the first beginning of sweater season that I'm documenting on this channel. And so I'm excited to see kind of like what I'm interested now and what I end up making. I always tend to change my mind just a little bit, so these are some patterns that I have been thinking about for making this fall. I actually do have some yarn to also kind of unbox with corresponding patterns. And then other yarns, I don't necessarily have the yarn purchased yet, so I'll just kind of tell you what I've been thinking about. And yeah, I try to do that so I don't like end up with yarn that I'm not going to use. Kind of helpful. And let's get into the video. I'm very excited. All right, so I'll start off by talking about a pattern that I've already cast on since my last podcast episode where I had nothing on my needles, and that is the Stockholm Slipover by PetiteKnit. And so I just clearly joined the back and the front recently, and we're all tangled here. And I'll tell you a little bit about the pattern and then the yarns I'm using. So this is a sweater knit in like a worsted or DK weight. I think the pattern technically calls for worsted. I'm using a fingering and a mohair held double, but I met gauge. And it's a very simple slipover construction, but it's top down. You start with the back panels, and then there's some German short row shaping in the sleeves to help like give you a little bit of a slope there. So like right up here in the shoulders, not the sleeves. Yeah, and then it's just a stockinette body. I'll add ribbing, bing, bang, boom. We'll have our first fall pattern done for this year. So this is an example of like an approach to picking a pattern that I usually don't take. I usually like to pick out a pattern and then pick out the yarn. I'm not someone that keeps a large stash on hand, kind of for this reason, because I felt like it was really difficult and like looming over me. I didn't like that feeling. I kind of just like, I like to know what I'm gonna make with something, and I don't derive much joy with having just like yarn sit around in my home. Again, if that makes you happy, like more power to you. That's just not working for me. So what I am using is the Merino singles by La Bien Aimée in the color Rose Quartz. If you've been watching my channel, you know that this has been in my stash since the spring. And I did not buy a sweater quantity at the time, which I'm kind of glad I didn't. I don't know if I would want a whole sweater in this. And I've paired it with the Drops Kid Silk in their white color. So it is really kind of softening. You can tell these really bright jewel tones in the sweater, which I don't mind at all. And I kind of actually prefer it, and I'm really excited to see what this looks like. I'll probably wear this like over t-shirts in the fall as like a transitional piece, and then maybe even over some like tight turtlenecks. Yeah, and I am knitting the size small, mostly because my gauge was a little bit big. I actually gauge swatched. This autumn of gauge swatching. I'm gonna be really like on it. So my gauge was like a little bit off, and I was worried about running out of yarn, but I have one more of this left, and I think I'll definitely have enough. So this is only one skein of yarn. So really, I feel like, you know, petite knit patterns, they're pretty consistent and that like the instructions are pretty clear. The one thing that I would say is there's not a lot of German short row guidance in particular. So if that's a new a new technique for you, I don't know if I would recommend it. It could be a little confusing. The The first pattern I made with German short rows was actually the Ripple Butt Shorts by Jessie May, and I felt like that pattern really walked me through it. Of course, you can always supplement with other tutorials, but I found as a beginner, it's kind of nice to have like the guidance from the designer themselves. So you kind of like know what to look for in a tutorial, and you can kind of like match up the instructions and the pattern to any other video tutorials. So that's the one thing I'd mention. German short rows were tricky for me. Some people find them very easy. I found them much easier this time around. This is about the third time I've done them, but just to know on the pattern itself, if you are like a true beginner. All right, so that is the Stockholm Slipover, and it comes up into a flat size 5XL. I don't know if I mentioned that. So moving on to my next pattern, I actually have the yarn here that I just picked up in my package room, and we'll unbox it together. And I'll talk about the pattern just for a little bit, and then I'll open the yarn. So this cardigan, it's a cardigan. It's called the Whitmoor Cardigan by Lowden, and it is a top-down sweater with a lace yoke. And I think this might be the most technically challenging thing that I have on this list, at least for me. I do not have a lot of experience with lace, and I do feel like knitting lace on a cardigan with mohair and wool is probably not like the easiest thing, and I maybe shouldn't have picked a mohair, but we're gonna try it out and see how it goes. In my podcast, I was talking about how if this is too technically challenging for me right now and I'm not feeling like putting myself through the trouble, I'd probably opt for something like the Novice Cardigan by PetiteKnit, but I'm going to talk about this because this is what I'm planning to do. So this is again a DK weight sweater. It goes up to a size 6X, I believe, which is a 59-inch bust, starting from 30 going up to 59 to 150 centimeters. It also comes with a few different modification options. So you can choose the length at which you'd like to make this cardigan, either like a waist length or a hip length. And then there's also an option for sleeves, whether you'd like a bishop sleeve or a tapered sleeve. I really wanted to select a pattern that was like a layering piece. So I'm gonna do like the waist length because that's the length I usually like my knitwear, and then also elect to do the tapered sleeve. I don't really like bishop sleeves for me, and I think this pattern's already like on the very feminine spectrum of kind of what I usually wear on a day-to-day. So I think that like the puffy sleeve just might be a bit too much for my personal style, because it's already going to be very feminine with the yarn choice I picked out. So I really kind of like this first image that they use in the pattern, and this is kind of how I envision myself wearing it as well. So that is my plan for this sweater. So now let's get into the yarn. So I ordered from, this is so, oh my god, this is perfect. Okay, I ordered from Hobbi, and okay, let me show you what I'm saying. I really wanted a very specific color pink. I wanted like bubblegum pink. I didn't want pink with a warm undertone. I wanted a cool undertone pink, and wowza, I think we got exactly what I wanted. So let me tell you what I purchased. I purchased these are both the Mayflower brand from hobbi. Listen, we're going to say both on this channel. So the first is their Mayflower Easy Care Merino, and then the Mayflower Kid Silk. And wow, I'm so happy with these colors. You can probably tell that the merino is a bit of a lighter shade, and it's a bit like more light pink, and this is really the color I was really going for. So I think they'll mix together nicely. I'm really happy with how they're looking, and I'm really excited about having like a pink, girly, fluffy sweater, lacy, romantic sweater. And at first impression, these are both very soft. Let me tell you the colors really quickly. This is color 66 and this is color 96. And I don't think they have the names. They don't. That's okay. So I'm very happy with how this feels. I actually haven't felt that many mohairs, I've realized, because what I thought was like a mohair yarn last year, I was not very well versed in the mohair of it all, was more of, it was the whack mohair, which is like more of like an alpaca mohair blend, very soft, but very different than like a mohair silk. So I think it already kind of feels softer than the Drops Kid Silk, which is good because this was more expensive. And I'm really excited. This feels really nice and has like a nice ply to it. It looks like it will be very squishy. So I'm really, really excited to swatch this up and start that sweater. Wow. I'm really pleased with the colors here. A few more notes on the yarn. In case you're wondering, this is 100% wool and this is a 76-24 mohair to silk blend. I know most are like 70-30, so I'm kind of interested to see what difference that plays, if any at all. But this is exactly what I wanted. I'm so excited. Thumbnail. Yeah, so I'm really pleased with that purchase. Moving on to the next sweater pattern that is on my list. It is a very popular pattern and I've seen a lot of people make it, which is making me want to make it. It's definitely a pattern I've been overexposed to, but that overexposure has made me grow an affinity to the sweater. And anyway, that is the Ingrid sweater by PetiteKnit. And if you haven't seen this sweater, wow, what corner of the internet are you on where you're also seeing my videos and you're not seeing that sweater? Kind of a more structural design by PetiteKnit, and it is a really textured pattern with different areas of moss stitch and cross hatch and ribbing. Mostly, yeah, I think that's mostly what makes it different. It's either moss stitch or seed stitch. I'm honestly not 100% sure. I actually haven't purchased the pattern yet. And I'm really excited about this pattern. I honestly just like, PetiteKnit really gets me with like the vibe she curates, and I understand like that's what she curates a vibe in order to sell her patterns, which I think it's great. It's genius. And the vibe I want is like wearing this sweater with like little gold jewelry and some chains, and I'm like cozy. It's oversized, it's comfy, it wraps you up. And it also kind of reminds me of like a fisherman cabled sweater, but it's not. It's like a little more modern take on that. So I've seen people make it without the kind of extra turtleneck collar and make it with a folded collar, and I quite like that modification. So I'll probably do that. And looking at yarns, I think what I would like to do is just knit it with a worsted weight yarn. She has held, I believe, a fingering and a mohair together, and I just purchased stuff for a mohair sweater, and I don't necessarily like feel that every sweater I buy needs to have mohair in it, and that would certainly add up over time. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and omit the mohair, and I've been looking at the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. I need to knit something with Knitting for Olive like at least once a season. I need to get my paws on it. I did see that my local yarn store just got a shipment in, and I've been meaning to go down there to take a look at the colorways, so I could like get a better feel for them and, you know, maybe purchase some if I see some that I like and they have enough. But the colorway that I'm looking at is the Oatmeal colorway, and let me just pull it up so I can like remind myself what it looks like. brownie beige basically, and it looks like a little heathered and a little speckled, and I definitely like the kind of original color that she made the pattern in, which is more of like a tan beige color, and I think it'll be a good addition to balance out like a very super pink cardigan in my wardrobe and kind of have more of like a neutral everyday sweater to wear. So that is the Ingrid sweater. This also comes up to a size 5XL, which is a, wait for it, I think she goes up to again to a 59-inch bust and 150 centimeters. So that is the size range for this sweater. Again, this is just something I've seen a lot and I want to make it, and I like her patterns and I'm gonna do it, okay? So really excited about the Ingrid sweater. All right, one last sweater that I have to share with you, and I'm pretty sure that whoever I'm making this for is not watching this video, so I'm just going to talk about it. And it is the Hot Toddy hoodie by Chantel from Knititude. And I talked about this, I think, in actually my summer pattern video as like a bonus pattern, and it's still in the back of my mind. I just got finished with like a huge gift knit, which was a blanket that I crocheted, and so I'm like ready to jump back into being very selfish, and so I was thinking of maybe doing it for my boyfriend's birthday, which is at the end of October, but I definitely think I'm gonna push it to Christmas, and this will be like more of a wintertime knit. So this is a Aran weight sweater, knit on 5mm needles. It goes up to a 64-inch bust, coming up again to a size 5XL, and I chose this pattern. I saw it on Chantel's Instagram, I think when she was doing a sale, or someone I followed had made it for their husband, and my boyfriend has a knit gray hoodie that he wears all of the time. And he likes it because it's like sweater material, so it's a little more dressy than a regular hoodie, but it still has like the casual silhouette of one. He's not a big like sweatshirt guy. I actually don't know if I've ever seen my boyfriend wear a sweatshirt that wasn't the gray knit hoodie. So I'm just trying to give him more options, and I'm planning to make this in Knit Picks worsted. The swish worsted, and I actually have some swish here. I have their DK, I have some scraps, and it's so soft for a superwash merino, and I think either superwash or acrylic is what I was gonna go for him, just to make sure like he doesn't accidentally shrink it. So that is what I'm gonna go for the BF, and I think I'll probably do actually a similar greenish color. I actually like showed him this pattern. I was like, do you like this? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. That was the extent. I'm not sure if I should just tell him, but I kind of want to keep it a secret. I know I'm talking about it on my YouTube channel, but maybe he already knows. I don't know. I feel like he would just tell me if he saw this. So I'm thinking of picking out like a greenish color. He has a lot of navy, a lot of gray. I just want to like give him a little zhuzh, you know, like let's add another neutral color to your wardrobe. So the pattern I think looks really nice. It doesn't have a like pocket, which I think is fine, but it has this really cool like, it's a raglan that has this really cool like slip stitch detail down the sleeves and down the back, which I think add a little je ne sais quoi, you know, a little zhuzh to the pattern. So excited to try out the hood. I saw actually recently Knitted by Whitney made a hoodie for her fiance, and instead of putting like making I-cords, she put in cotton rope, and I think I'll probably do that too to kind of make it look more store-bought, and then that way I don't have to make I-cords. Big brain energy over here. So that is the last sweater on my list for fall. This will definitely like go into winter. I feel like I have a lot of plans, as we all do at the beginning of a new season, so we'll see what shakes out, but I really would like to make this for him for Christmas. He's very supportive of my knitting, and he's a big hype man, and I really just like expressing my love for people through my knitwear. And I also just wanted him to stop wearing the other sweatshirt, so this is really a long con for me. Those are all of the sweater patterns that I have. So I have 3 more patterns. Two are accessories, and then one is like a houseware. So I'll start off with the accessories and one more unboxing of yarn that is in this package. So that is, and I saw it peek out and it matches so well with what I actually just bought, is the Silly Socks by Hobbi. It is their own brand. And look at this. Is this a curated palette or what? I told myself this year I wanted to try out sock making and at least try to make one pair and see if I like it. I'm still not wildly interested in making socks, but I want to try it, if that makes sense. Anyway, I needed free shipping, so I was looking at this Silly Sock yarn before. I like the idea of I like the idea of a self-striping yarn for socks, just to have a little something kooky and crazy. And then I wanted to get a 9-inch circular, which you can't even really see. So it's like one needle is longer than the other, here's the needle, it's hiding. One needle is longer than the other in order to help you like keep that circumference. I'm probably gonna do something very, very, very basic. The crazy sock lady has like a vanilla sock on a 9-inch circular pattern, so I think I'm just gonna start there because I am starting at level 0 with knowledge about sock knitting. I know there's like heel turning and like toe boxes and stuff. Can you tell I'm like not really inherently interested? It's not that I'm really not super interested, but I want to try to see if I am. I haven't tried it, so I'll try it. And I also have some travel coming up in October, so I think this might be a good thing to carry around with me instead of like 400 grams of mohair and merino, especially on a plane. So this will be kind of like a travel project as well. So it kind of worked out. I think it's a good time in my life to try socks. I'll probably do a vanilla sock pattern, or I might do like a 3x1 pattern. The idea of like ribbing is kind of enticing to me. So yes. So this is the Silly Sock by Hobbi, 75% wool, 25% polyamide. And yeah, we're gonna give it a shot. So next I have one more accessory, and it is actually a kid knit, not necessarily a baby knit, unless you would consider like a 3 to 4 year old a baby, which I don't. Anyway, it's a gift knit, and I'm gonna be making a hat. If you remember last year, I don't know why I said that. My channel wasn't around. I'm so kooky and crazy in this video. She's wild. Your girl's wild. Last year, I made hats for a family friend who has 4 whole children, and I had so much fun making little bebe hats, and it was such a delight to see them and give them to them. And I'd met 2 of the 4 before. I was meeting 2 for the first time. So it was fun just to like give them a little gift and give them little hats. So I decided that I wanted to make a child a hat again. I'm actually, again, meeting a child for the first time, and I would like to bribe the child with something fluffy that they can put on their head. And in turn, they will give me their affection. So with that, I want to show you what I have in store. I'm gonna do just like a free pattern. The patterns that I used last year were it was from Bellish, Rip Bellish, and that was actually like such a good instance in which to use like an app, because it was like such a simple thing that I needed a pattern for, and I could customize it a little bit. But this will also be pretty easy. So this is the Purl Soho classic cuffed hat. It comes in a baby, kid, and adult size, free pattern on their website, and I have a bunch of scraps that I think will be enough to make a hat. We'll see. It actually could not be enough. It might be. So I started to cast it on just a little bit. It didn't even like join in the round yet, so everything's kind of a mess. But real quickly, I will just show you the yarns that I have. I'll show you the yarns that I have in my stash. I have a bunch of little like acrylic scraps that the color palette isn't really like my deal at all, but I think it'd be super fun for a little boy. That's what it is. So this is Swish DK. This is some is wool, some is acrylic. I don't know if he'll like that. I honestly don't know what I'm doing. So this is the first. I'll do the cuff in this. And then I have what I actually made the hats with last year, which is Big Little Yarn Co. And it was the super fun, like primary colors, and a little bit of green yarn, and like so fun. I love this yarn. I wish I just had more of it and I would make him in this color. So I will add this in. Actually, I feel like I have a good amount here left over. And then I have just some other random scraps that actually match really well with the Big Little Yarn Co. yarn. So I have like red, orange, green, blue, very like, again, not really this is not my color palette at all, but very like child friendly. I feel like this evokes like childhood to me, and like blocks and like race cars and stuff. Anyway, cool. And it's also like gender neutral too, right? Like I don't think this is like boy, it doesn't scream like man. I don't really believe in that either, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's very, I feel like a little girl could easily wear these colors too. Not that I don't know if my friend's planning to have more children. Not really anyone's business. Anyway, I am meeting the child in early October. I'm gonna try to make him a hat by then. Hopefully we'll get it done, bing, bing, boom, knock this out, have it ready, do a little pom-pom action, folded brim, fun stuff for the fall. All right, last pattern I want to make is also a bit of a stash buster. Would like to work some stash busting projects as I welcome new yarns into my home this fall, because I think they're going to add up pretty quickly. And these are the Wool Vessels by Nick Davis. And these are like basically felted baskets that you can knit and then felt. I have a metric boatload of these yarns. That's the scientific term. So what I have is yarn that I made a sweater with last year, and I made this sweater actually for a TikTok collaboration with Bellish, Rip Bellish, and I wanted to make a chunky sweater on a budget and quickly, and so I bought Drop Snow. And I still think about this. I don't like this yarn. It's itchy. It is, I don't like it. I never really want to work with single ply wool ever again. And I feel like this is something that has even kind of like died in popularity, like on the gram and elsewhere, since like a year ago. I feel like when I really got into garment knitting, December 20, I feel like I saw it everywhere. And also like it's really marketed towards beginners because it's quick. And there's nothing wrong with this if you like it, but anyway, I don't plan on making any more garments with what I have of this yarn. So I think making like a wool vessel would be really cool. So I actually have this, and I have, I still have some of the wool when Wax sent me too much yarn earlier in December. Again, rip. But again, this is 100% wool. great for felting, I would assume. I'm gonna try it out. This on the Drops website explicitly says that it's good for felting. And so I feel like although like a white basket isn't necessarily like the first thing I would put into my home, just cleaning wise, you can hear my mom already being like, that's gonna get so dusty and yucky. I think it'll be fun, maybe even a good gift. So I'll see what I can do. He has a circular basket, and then also he recently came out with a pattern for like a more rectangular one. So it'd be fun to like make something that I can put more yarn into. How meta is that? And pretty functional. So maybe that's like a later winter project when I get a little burnout on sweaters, but also I imagine it'd be relatively quick considering the size of the yarns used. So these are just some stash yarns that I could use for those. Having these marled could look really cool. So that is what I have planned for these. And maybe if you have a lot of like trendy yarn that you maybe bought that you don't necessarily like anymore, you could use it to felt stuff. So that's an option. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. So that is all I have in this video today. My couch is full of yarn. It's a mess, but I did it for you. I did it for us, and I did it for love. Thank you for stopping by for this exploration into fall patterns this year. I will be posting updates here on this channel on my podcast, so you can see what I actually decided to follow through with. You can see if I'm brave enough to conquer a lace yoke cardigan, and if I have it in me to knit a pair of socks. Stay tuned. It'll all be here in this next season of Knits by Mandy. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see y'all soon. Bye! Happened to have a metric shit ton of. That's actually the scientific term. I don't know if I'll edit that out. I have a metric boatload of these yarns.